Welcome to Power of Africa 2023. I am William Jackson. I am here in the United States of America, and it's such a pleasure to be here. I am a past teacher, public and higher education, of 33 years, teaching STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and metaverse. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today, and we have some wonderful guests. We have Lisa that will be joining us.
Hi everyone, I am Lisa Videira from Angola. I am founder of a platform in the education industry. It's called Nzoji Academy. So our goal is to help Angola and Southern Africans to digitalize education and make it easy access to higher education at affordable prices because we believe that through education we can actually change lives. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. We're having Alafabi, who is also joining us in this discussion about technology.
Hi everyone, my name is Albert Afolabi. I reside in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm from Nigeria. I'm the co-founder for TM30 Global, which is a leading software development company. Our job is being at the forefront of creating cutting-edge innovation and solutions for the future of technology, businesses, and digital economy. What we are doing basically is creating unique solutions that can transform and revolutionize businesses across the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. We also have Segamatsi that will be joining us as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarametsi Mafa. I'm the founder and managing director of Service Excellence based in Gaborone, Botswana, Southern Africa. I have over 18 years of corporate experience in the ICT operations industry and almost 3 years entrepreneurial experience in ICT and management consultancy business. I also hold a BSc Computer Science and a Master's in Strategic Management and Professional Management certifications in Project Management and Enterprise Risk Management as well. I also do a lot of digital awareness on radio platforms as well as schools, and I work a lot with ICT graduates, mentoring them and giving them an opportunity to work with us at Service Excellence. Thank you.
Thank you to our wonderful guests. And I want to make sure everyone understands that this topic is about unlocking the future with digital transformation, innovation, and disruptive trends in Africa. And I will be asking each of our esteemed guests questions that they will be answering from their experience and their background, and also contributing as well to the discussion. So we're going to start with Lisa. Lisa, my first question is, how does digital transformation contribute to improving access to education, healthcare, and other essential services in underserved areas of Africa?
Well, in case of my country, Angola, what I see is since that we left the civil war, we have been growing at faster pace than normal countries in the SADC in Southern Africa. And the new generation now uses technology for everything. For example, you mentioned healthcare. There is an app created by fellow Angolans that helps people find medicines in specific pharmacies and check if they have storage of that medicine or not. Something that it's already a problem for us Africans to have access to specific medicines. And if we have a technology to help us get the information where I can have it and at what price, it makes it easier for people to actually have access. Same applies to education. Unfortunately, the universities in Angola are not at the pace of the evolution of the rest of the world. We now have a lot of new jobs and skills that we need to train our young people that universities and small training centers are not teaching. For example, cloud computing, STEAM, any technology now, like AI, for example, it's so new for our culture, for our education strategy of the government that unfortunately governments they are not keeping up the pace of how things are progressing. So in a way that this new technology are specifically giving an opportunity for young people to have access to this information, because I believe in talent and I believe that Africa, we have a lot of talent. It's equal everywhere in the world. I think what we lack of is the opportunity for us African and young people and the generations to come to actually have access to this new technology, because we can manage, we can, implement, we can use in our favor like anywhere else in the world is being used, like the young people from US, for example. So I think this is a big step that we are getting to.
Well, thank you for sharing it. And as we're having our panel discussion, the other guests, if you would like to contribute as well, we would really like your input and your outlook on what's being shared today. Would anybody like to contribute to what Lisa just said?
Okay, just to add to it, technology is actually disrupting, is creating a lot of disruption in Africa, and we're at a position where services are getting to be better. People are getting access with the use of technology. In Nigeria, for example, virtually every area is seeing technology being an enabler, from mobile, from transportation to food to science to health to agriculture. You see technology making processes to be better, getting more access to the people. I think what technology is doing basically in Africa is getting more access to people, and that's quite is quite interesting.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Sigamasi, did you want to contribute anything?
I think we are on a transformation journey generally across the world, and I think our education system has a long way to go in terms of transformation. I think the different strides that we see happening in different countries are also encouraging others that they will get there. So as much as maybe in Africa we don't have a lot of changes or transformations that are integrated, we see education system talking about how to change the system, especially I'm here in Botswana and we are talking our education system must be transformed as well to be able to develop those skills that are needed by the era that we are in. But at the same time, we are also saying, yes, some are ahead, some are not, but we've started the journey. So for me, it's a journey and we will all get there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next, Alafadi, I'm going to ask your question. This first one is, what is the importance of digital transformation in unlocking the future for Africa?
So the importance of digital transformation is quite massive. We've seen a lot happening in Nigeria, especially seeing companies like Paystack, Flutterwave becoming the unicorn, making payment solutions, especially being able to serve the underbank. There is a lot of people that don't have access to a physical bank, but now the solution is getting to them. So in terms of the advantages, we're seeing changes in every area. Education, people are getting to learn courses online. People are able to learn diverse courses. So it's changing the whole world. Access to information, access to education, it's much better. Agriculture is also changing digitally. People are getting to see access. Like I said, access is key to information, access to know where to get the raw materials or products they need. Technology is bringing all of this transformation to it, and in doing that, it's also transforming the whole the whole ecosystem, from the e-commerce to renewable energy to health. You are seeing technology coming, making all of these drastic changes. At the point, I think the core part is now getting people to accept technology and to start infusing it into every other areas in which they are working on. I think that's the area in which we are working on more now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. As a former educator, I would just like to point out the value and importance of education, but not just education alone, changing the mindset of people when they're involved in using technology, because that's one of the important aspects of you're given technology or you have access to it, but your mindset must be ready to accept how you're going to use it and implement it, which is very important. So we appreciate your input. Segamatsi, your question is dealing with Africa is so rich in natural resources and traditional practices that they have used to gain value out of these resources. But when we talk about digital transformation, do we even think most Africans understand what it is and in relation to what they already have? Also, what they can do to unlock the future in digital transformation.
Thank you. I'm an advocate and a speaker on digital awareness, and I believe in simplifying things for an ordinary person to understand your language and to understand your technology and your terminologies in your different areas of work. We are talking telemedicine for one, and telemedicine is technology and medicine. We've always had medicine where we have patients coming to the hospitals, for instance, and getting medicine. And when we are talking telemedicine, we are talking efficiencies, for instance, in how to get the medicine across to the patient, maybe in the quickest way we can. The right medicine after diagnosis, even the person is not here. We are talking in the space of agriculture, for instance, as Africans, we've always owned so much cattle, so much animals, so many farms and all that. We are producing them. We have markets that are ready. We've been doing all that. But when you talk about digital transformation, sometimes we use these big words and farmers are thinking it's not for us. We don't have the technology here. We cannot even use the technology here. Therefore, it's something that is far-fetched. While we are talking of implementations of processes that will enable them to reach the market, for instance, fast, to be able to manage their stock fast, to be able to know how much to spend and predict using the data analytics that is there, to be able to predict how best to get value from their farms. So, how rich is the water in their farms, for instance? Can we use technology and tools to be able to do that? And that's why I'm saying sometimes when you bring in these big words, people are unsure or they are confused or they think it's not for us. And again, we also appreciate and acknowledge that technology comes with expenses. If you have not budgeted for this, you will not be able to do it. Digital transformation comes with expenses, and you need to be able to justify the expenditure. So it is this investment that will bring value, but are you able to justify it to the next person? Are you able to justify it to a finance manager? Are you just talking about bringing in the tools because maybe you had IT personnel telling you that we need to change and transform? Or do you see the relationship with the business strategy? What business value are we going to get out of digital transformation? So for me, businesses retain their many strategies right now because they think digital transformation is far from them. But sometimes it's just a little tweak where you are able to justify the expenditure, the investment by simplifying the language and bringing it to the business value system to say that, yes, as a business, our intent is to provide education, but how best can we provide education to reach majority that we need? So I think for me, it's all about simplifying the big ways that we use. We are talking data analytics, data science. People are divorcing it from the fact that they have always had records in their offices, institutions, and they have big storerooms, warehouses where they have been keeping all these records. And when you talk about digital transformation and you don't show them that it starts with them digitizing all those records, scanning them for effective management, for ease of access by people in far places without them having to drive all the way to go and open the files and use it's cataloging in using technology and tools. So the same catalogs that we have, let us automate them. So simplify the language to the people, and I believe that will expedite adoption because we do have our traditional practices as Africans that have worked for many years, and we are saying let's improve on them using tools and technologies that come with digital transformation.
And you brought up some very good points about the terminology, because a lot of terminology that we're using today related to technology wasn't even available 2 to 3 years ago. and being able to communicate effectively is valuable and very important. One of the other areas you talked about was finances. You know, managing your finances for technology and being able to make the appropriate purchases or applying the technology in the right way. There's still a lot of learning that has to be done, and hopefully the resources will become available to help this transition for Africans to make it easier and more effective. Thank you for sharing that.
For example, Segamati mentioned agriculture. We have the problem in Africa of climate change everywhere. Every country of Africa is being affected. And our farmers, they're not prepared for the climate change. So they need to, get the data, get informed, even from the soils, because a lot of our farmings, they do things by habits. They learn from their father or their grandfather. So they're not constantly updating the way they do the farming and prevent what is coming from the climate change consequences we are not facing. For example, in south of Angola, we had a huge problem with drought, like we had no water,
Mhm.
and they lost a lot of farming that they did because it's the desert that we share with Namibia is spreading. So this climate change needs to be informed. We need data, as Segamati said, so that we can then help and present
Right.
plagues, prevent crops being lost because of this. So I agree.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So this will lead us into the next question for you, Lisa.
Hmm.
What are the emerging trends and predictions for digital transformation in Africa in the next decade? I mean, we're dealing with the current situation now, but in the next decade, as you reflect, what would be the emerging trends and the predictions for digital transformation in Africa?
In Africa. It's I don't know if a decade is too long because every 3 years there is like a revolution happening in technology. Like for example, since COVID 2020,
Mhm.
the AI have been coming in by storm, and even me, I can't cope with all the new AI trends and transformations and possibilities that is happening. Either we want it or not, this is affecting us a lot, directly or indirectly. One of the things that I'm worried is just how the AIs in the next decade or even less will affect jobs that currently we think they are normal and they are guaranteed. But for example, in STEM, in coding, I read an article saying that AI now can do coding, that most of our coders or specialists, they won't cope with the evolution of computing hardware and software has AI with coding. So what's gonna happen to all programmers? What's gonna happen to you, Afolabi? Like you guys create software. Next thing I know, I'm talking to an AI and say, "Hey, could you please create me a software so that I can go to Mars and meet Elon Musk?" It's like it's insane how things are going. But one thing is for sure, for Africa, we won't manage to keep up all this speed. But as long as this new hardware and new technology help us solve our problems that we have,
Mhm.
especially in basic areas like health, education, and getting jobs to young people. I think that is a subject that we need to, to manage. But for sure, I just don't want us to be left behind. The generations to come, they need to be prepared for this new
Right.
world that is emerging of technology. We just need to adapt. I think we have the ability to adapt to these new trends, but it's hard to actually have a specific mind because everything's happening really fast. it's
Right.
it's overwhelming sometimes to keep up with the news.
You're right. You're right. And I'm glad you're mentioning the next generation to come because, globally, as each generation comes of age, they're expected to be leaders and innovators and creators of technology, but they
Yes.
still need that foundation to learn and be able to apply to where they are uh, geographically and where they live and where they're going to work. So, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Just to add to what Lisa said, the beauty about technology is that it's going to always be in phases. Before today it's AI, tomorrow it might be something else. So you don't even know what maybe there's something better than AI that's still going to come. So those challenges are going to be there. But for humans, yes, we must find a way to quickly adapt and not think we can't stay too long looking at the technology. We must adapt and start using it. Coders have also you're asking about me. Developers have also started working with AI, and it's making their job faster, and it's complementing what they do. What I usually say, as much as it poses a threat, I also look at it as somebody that designed AI. So you're just basically looking at the future of work where a whole lot of stuff are going to be changing, and the skills we have today would not be relevant tomorrow. And having that mindset means that we must always get ourselves at every point in time to have the requisite skill for the future. Today is AI, tomorrow might be something else. Something else will surely pop up. We must be at that place where we are ready for whatever pops up and to move with time.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
We are warriors. Africans need to be warriors. Otherwise, the world is really hard, and it's a pace that it's
Right.
getting difficult to keep up with other nations. It's
Yeah.
hard.
But it's interesting as you're speaking. There's several words that we're using over and over again. One of them is evolution, and it involves people evolving to be able to use technology. There's a term IoT, Internet of Things, and that's
Many other
basically
things.
talks about how people working next to robots and using technology and being ingrained in it. We haven't used the word revolution, I don't believe, because when you talk about a revolution, people get really nervous because of the past uses. But as tech grows and ingrains in our societies, particularly in Africa, people have to understand that it is going to evolve, and sometimes there is going to be a digital revolution that's going to have to take place to keep up with the changes and the adaptations of it. So there's a very good point.
You mentioned, sorry, revolution. I believe the next revolution will be in quantum computing.
Hmm.
Because, for example, I follow Michio Kaku. It's a PhD guy from Massachusetts, MIT, and he explains in a lot of YouTube videos. So YouTube, our biggest university ever, open university. So I study his work, and he mentioned that when we managed to put it up AI and quantum computing together,
Hmm.
then we're gonna have a revolution. I just hope that we have access to as much information and technology as other nations have. That way, we Africans will solve our own problems, and of course, not wait for other nations to come and save us. So it's like not giving us the fish, but teaching us how to fish, so that then we can, go our lives. And the other thing for us Africans, we just need to unite each other more, be united and not fight, so that
Hmm.
then we can grow even bigger. Because I believe that Africa has a huge potential to be one of the biggest, as good as other continents. We just need to work together,
But yeah,
and help our
exactly.
people grow.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And that actually leads to Alafabi, this question for you. How can digital transformation drive innovation in various sectors across the continent? So I don't think we talked about innovation yet, but how can that drive innovation?
Okay, so like I said, at the aim of innovation is actually digital transformation, and I think the best way to look at it is taking specific industries, specific sectors, and seeing how technology is transforming it. So, for example, look at the health sector. There's a company here in Nigeria called Life Bank, and what Life Bank has been able to do is is a health tech startup, and they've been able to use technology to improve access to blood and medical
Mhm.
supplies, so that people are able to somebody needs any type of blood, you're able to go to that platform to see, okay, at this specific hospital or this specific blood bank, they have it available. In doing that, they're able to connect blood banks, hospitals, and patients to get for to in a way where they are able to do timely delivery. So you see how technology is digitalizing the health industry, unlike before where it has to be a manual process and maybe there would have been loss of life. Like I mentioned earlier, also if you take the education sector, technology is disrupting that, creating the innovations. People are now having to even at their own house, they're able to go to schools, they're able to learn, they're able to get their certificates without leaving. Most of us want to travel to US or UK to do masters, but sometimes being able to leave your work is a lot of problem. But now you have all of these online courses that you can do that helps you. In Kenya, there is M-Pesa, which is a payment solution that has solved most payment solution, even to the unbanked. So technology, it's at the aim of innovation. And the best way to look at it is looking at all the different sectors that we are in and how it has actually changed it. Food processing technologies are at the aim of it. So digital transformation happens when we embrace it. I think the major question we might need to look at later is, are we Africans, are we looking to solve our problem, or we are waiting for a solution from other people?
Wow, that is a lot. Thank you for sharing that. And going back again and understanding the terms of innovation and evolution are so valuable and important. And these conversations need to continue to broaden the spectrum of how we all fit in as human beings, Africans, and using the tech to broaden our knowledge and improve the continent.
You
Um, I-
mentioned innovation, for example, in health.
Yes.
Um, in Angola, there is this young startups that created technology that can detect um, malaria, one of the biggest problems we have in health around Africa is malaria, which is the second most health problems we have that kill our fellow Africans. And they detected this machine that you can do the test anywhere in your neighborhood with a small machine. If we can prevent, it's better than before the person falls ill. Then you can get in a stage really bad and end up passing away. So I think technology can really help us solve this huge problem that we have in Africa, which is malaria. We just need to make sure that these projects don't die, the startups have all the sustainability to grow, everything they need in terms of grants, funds, support, government, for example, licensing to build a small test center around each big neighbor. We need all the support we can get so that then the idea grows and the problem actually can be solved partially and eventually being eradicated when we have a vaccination
right.
area, for example.
Well, it's interesting enough that you mentioned malaria because here in the United States, we've had more cases of malaria happening. And the scientists or so-called experts aren't sure why it's growing here in the United States. And that's great that you brought that up because this is something still that affects people globally. Because at one time it was thought that malaria was eradicated here in the United States, but now it's coming back very fiercely and very strong. And in those cases, you can't always rely on just the technology, but understanding the causes. And we're seeing this more and more, globally as well. So our
Yes,
next,
William, I think also,
okay, go ahead.
yes, going back to the example also maybe from our country, I think during the period of COVID lockdowns in 2020, what we did through one of our universities here in Botswana was to try out delivering medication using the drone technology. Delivering medication to some of the remote parts where you will find that we have people who are sick, but they are unable to reach medication fast. So the tryout with the drones technology really worked. And I think it's left for us to now implement it fully because I think the challenge that we have in most African countries is funding. We try out these things, they seem to work, we want to grow them, but we are limited because of funds. So I think it's high time, while we are talking revolution, that we develop products that we can also sell. Because once you have a product that you are selling, then you are assured of continuous income. So currently we do a lot of service provision in Africa. We provide services. We are service oriented. We are trained to go out there and be employed and provide service, but not to manufacture. So I think with the revolution that comes with digitalization and digital transformation, this is the time where we have the opportunity to manufacture solutions that we can sell, and therefore have an opportunity as well to retain continuous income.
I just wish that countries like you, Botswana, Zambia, Ghana, we Nigeria and Angola would follow you guys to get more funding available and not, going elsewhere, so that we can then grow our ideas because we still have huge problems with funding, especially for startups and new technologies. At least we, Nigeria, Angola,
Yeah, but
like broad
I think
in corruption. So I just wish that this decreased more and we would have more funding. But hey, I think Angola is following Nigeria, or is it you following us? Afolabi, I don't even know. It's like brotherhood, huh?
I think the tech environment in Nigeria has been able to crack the funding. A lot of guys have been able to get very good funding, and like I think my major concern is not just solving a problem, but uh, solving a problem that is sellable and that is actually what people want. So there are a lot of solutions out there, but the question is, how many of those solutions is tailored for Africans? How many of them is actually what will work in our environment? So those are kind of questions we ask when a lot of people come to us to say, I want to develop this solution. But then the question is it sellable? Is it workable?
Do people want to buy? Yes.
Yes.
but I think
Exactly. Oh, go ahead.
Lisa, you talked about maybe if we can follow same policies, or I mean for same trends together. But I think as a continent, the initiatives that are being brought about SADC or Commonwealth, the Africa free trade that we are talking about, I think it's time to implement, guys. We have lots and lots of good policies in lots of countries, especially here in my country. We have a lot of good policies. We are developing processes all the time. I think it's an issue of implementing to enable us to be able to manufacture and develop these solutions further, and be able to also, as much as we import, we now start exporting. So I think we need to just unlock these various schemes that we are continually talking about and introducing. The last 2-3 weeks saw us in Botswana hosting the US Africa Summit for the first time. I mean, heads of states from different African countries were here. A lot of professionals were here. The United States was here. So let's take opportunity not just to sit around the table and debate issues, but let's go out and implement. I think for me, that's what we need more. Because yes, we see where the trends are going. We see issues of AI and all that. But more importantly, for us to get value out of them is when now we fund these initiatives. Thank you.
Right. Very, very good. Very well. Um, Segamatsi, I'm going to ask this question, and it deals with analysis. And since the 4IR era, we see lots of research analysis predicting tech trends every year, every 2 years or so. But with the latest developments that are happening around AI, we're talking about AI now, it looks like even the predictions that people have already been disrupted when people mentioning AI. What does this mean for us as Africans in terms of speed of adoption, adaptation for these trends that are happening?
What is very interesting is I think earlier in the year, somewhere around March, when ChatGPT, for instance, was really disrupting everywhere. I kept
Yeah.
saying, what is very interesting is that these trends are also disrupting themselves. You know, we
Mhm.
we we are one leg ahead on AI. We are thinking AI, and immediately there is ChatGPT, and everyone is moving their eyes and focus to ChatGPT and wondering what is this now. And it's so fast that it requires somebody to also be agile and fast, because otherwise we will never catch the speed at which everything is happening. And if we don't catch it, we will be left behind in our 3IR or 4IR or whatever generation that we are currently in, because a lot is happening and it has happening so fast. So for me, there are a lot of trends. It's not only for instance, the AI that we can talk about. Maybe I can also highlight some of them that we see coming up every day. We see the likes of workplace changing, the hybrid working from home and working remotely. Jobs are continually being created, but that requires us to also change our mindset. Can I be able to do the job that is sitting in another continent when I'm here? The timelines are not the same. We know that time is not the same when I'm here and when we're in Nigeria and any other country. But how best can I benefit from that so that I alleviate maybe the little poverty that I'm going through? That is one. When we are talking about the trends, we are talking about green technology right now. She was talking about the farmers and the climate change issues. We are talking about ESG today, that in terms of governance, how well are we doing in that space? Because yes, there's digital transformation when you talk about the tools and the technologies, but there's the governance aspect. Look at GDPR, that is forcing all of us now to look at Data Protection Act.
Mhm.
And if you are not going to align, and if you are not going to improve on your data protection, what does it say? What does it mean to your economy as a country? What does it mean to your financial position in terms of the global funding observations that are being done? That's why we are even talking about research-based analytics. What do they say about us as Africans in terms of complying to the global trends, even in terms of regulations and laws? We are talking about protecting the environment that we live in, even for the future generations that are yet to come. We are talking issues of data management, data security, cyber security. Those are emerging trends. We may not look at them as technological developments, but these are advancements that are running in parallel to the tools and technologies that we are bringing. As we increase our digital footprint, for instance, on social media or everywhere where we are putting our digital footprint and leaving it there, how safe and secure is it for anybody who will interact with the footprint that I've left there? Are we teaching ourselves enough? Are we educating ourselves enough in terms of how well do we prepare for such? And now, when I come back to the question, what are we doing and how can we make sure that we come up with long lasting solutions that will also benefit us? There is this abbreviation that we've been talking about for years now, the VUCA. We are in a VUCA world, and therefore we need VUCA leadership. VUCA, volatile, everything changes every day. Uncertainty, we are uncertain even of the future. We are uncertain of our tomorrow, but we still need to live today thinking we will wake up tomorrow and continue living. Therefore, a lot of uncertainty around what we are doing, even as we want to embrace this technology. Sometimes we are unsure at the speed that we are going, an investment that we are going to put in. Are we able to continue with this investment and with this project? And are we going to be able to realize what we are developing today at the pace we are moving? Everything is complex. And therefore, we need to also unpack that for ourselves and our organizations and our countries. A lot of ambiguity is happening all around us. So, what is this calling for? It's calling for the leadership that will rally behind the technology. Gone are the days where we have leaders and CEOs and managing directors who do not understand IT, who do not understand technology, who cannot speak on digital transformation, who have strategies that do not talk about digital transformation. And therefore, it means we need leadership that is empowered to be able to understand that we are on a fast lane. And while we are on a fast lane, they need to flex a bit to allow us to move together in this fast lane. Therefore, it's important that the leadership as well is equally tuned in to support all these initiatives and leadership even from home. I mean, we have traditional courses where kids are going to schools to do a bachelor of accounting. Today we are talking fintech, and as we talk fintech, does the parent understand that the child doesn't need to do accounting, but maybe they should focus on fintech and all that? We had computer science in the past. Right now, we are talking big data, we are talking business intelligence, we are talking data science. We are talking more professional courses and certifications than the degrees. And therefore, the environment must be ready to embrace somebody who comes with a certification more than one who comes with a basic degree. So it's those things that need to be shaped up for us to adopt technology first.
That is wonderful. I can see now that a lot of issues are going to be taken care of with your input and what you're providing. So your knowledge, your experiences are very valuable. During this panel discussion of unlocking the future with digital transformation, innovation, and disruptive trends in Africa, each of you has shared some valuable information. I have one last question for you. And we've talked about a lot of areas, but let's focus on, for each of you, are there any successful cross-border collaborations in Africa that you're aware of? And who is doing some wonderful things as far as promoting collaboration and cooperation? So we'll start with you, Lisa.
When you refer to collaboration in terms of startups, innovation,
Innovation, sharing resources, collaboration, as far as educational access to technology. Are there any cross-border, cross-national, across the continent of Africa collaborations that are ongoing that you're aware of?
yes, well, in terms of education, we have been collaborating with Zambia and also Rwanda, because Rwanda now they are building the startup city, and they have been exchanging a lot of knowledge within the startup movement. There's also a lot of incentive programs for startups like Seed Stars, Orange Corners, which
Mhm.
they work around Africa. So we have some regional startup competitions and sharing of information between startups in different areas, innovation everywhere, technology and health and others. And this way, I think it's a good exchange because at the end of the day, the problems that we find in different countries in Africa are the same. As I mentioned, malaria, and my fellow Africans also recognize that malaria is a health problem in their countries. Imagine if this startup in Angola, that it was this year, they created this program to detect early malaria symptoms. We could then, share this technology and be implemented in Botswana or Nigeria. That would be great. It has been happening, not at the pace that we would like to, because we need to involve at the end of the day the government, and sometimes the governmental processes might delay some of these problems in terms of patents and legalizing, the technology to protect the interests of the founders. But it is happening. Of course, the solution can be across all Africa implemented. We just need to, communicate and put our hands dirty. As Segamati said, start using these new opportunities that are appearing from Commonwealth and the Africa Summit, so that then we can get things done and not, only just discuss. It is happening. In Angola, it's happening. We have one handicap, which is the language. In Angola, most of our young people, they don't speak English fluently. So this sometimes it can be a huge barrier for them to actually take the initiative by themselves to
Right.
implement and exchange information cross border. Unfortunately, we don't dominate the English as, for example, our fellow Nigerians or Botswana,
Right.
African. I wish we would, so that this wouldn't be a handicap for our young fellow Angolans. But don't worry, with AI, we will start translating like Star Trek with the phone.
Right.
Hey, how you?
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
That's right.
I hope
That's
so.
right.
Yeah.
Um, Alfado, your interpretation of what you see as far as collaborations as well that's going across the continent of Africa. What do you see that's there?
Okay, so I think one of the collaborations I'm seeing and I'm so much expecting to work is the formation of by Afrexim Bank for a
Mhm.
payment system across Africa called PAPS, Pan African Payment and Settlement System, which allows us to facilitate trade across Africa. I think at the moment now, if I have to send money to Lisa in Angola, I have to first change my own naira to USD, and then change the USD back to Angolan
Mhm.
currency. And what this does is that it makes simple payment that should take minutes, take days. So with what they are doing at PAPS, I should be able to send money to anybody in Africa, and with the central banks coming together, they should be able to get the money immediately. What that does for us is it helps us to start facilitating trade better between Africans, and it makes exchanges better. So I'm following up on that. I'm looking forward to our African government working to ensure this works, because it now means that we can do more trade across Africa. You can check, I think it's perhaps papss.org. It's quite interesting, and it's a collaboration that really, really needs to work.
Awesome. Thank you. And to close this out, Segamasi, how about your opinion? What do you think about or know about the collaborations that are ongoing?
I think on the digital platform, we're already collaborating. And I think one of my key messages when I speak around the different platforms I have exposure to, I start off by saying, guys, we are digital citizens. And the digital space and the 4IR have opened doors. So
Mhm.
let us break away these borders and these barriers that we have set for ourselves if we really want to benefit from all these services. I mean, the example being given by Afolabi in terms of payment, I experienced it last week. I'm a mentor with Girls for Girls Botswana. So we had our graduation last weekend, and one of the speakers was coming from South Africa, and they were struggling to make payment here to somebody in Botswana because they are using a bank. It's here in Botswana, it's there in South
Mm.
Africa, but their account is in South Africa. So instead, they can use online payment, but they have to go to the ATM and use the card to
Mm.
transact the cash and then pass on the cash. So even the online systems that we have are not that flexible. So you would think that, okay, with online banking, the fact that it's the same bank, it should be easy, but it is equally difficult. So I think I like the example that you gave, Afolabi. Please share more information. I see you've given it to us. Perhaps we will go on and look at it and follow it through as well. Afrexim Bank, I've seen it as well. Last year it was here during our Botswana Global Expo, because we have a Global Expo almost annually. They were here, and I think a lot is opening up. But for me, I think I want to see, not only to see, but to partake in the Africa Free Trade engagement, so that I really get to understand what's in it for us in there. Because I think this is an area that should be able to unlock for us all these relationships that will enable us to, one, do business easier with each other and collaborate easier with each other. In terms of what we are currently doing as well in that space, I think as a country, issues of export and imports, we are currently also trying to export a lot of skills through the innovative and creative projects that are being exposed, especially to the young people. We have one of a some of the state-owned enterprises who are running hackathons with young people to try and come up with a prototype of solutions to some of the problems that we have in the country. And I think those problems are common across Africa. And so if those hackathons become successful and they are turned into real products, that are sellable, that can be used across different platforms. I think that should really take us somewhere as a continent. And mindset change. We were launching, I think, in the last week in the country, a mindset change campaign where we are saying all these good things that we are talking about, all the strategies that we set for ourselves require a culture change, culture shift, and it starts with the mind. At individual level, at organizational level, we need that drift for us to be able to achieve what we set for ourselves. I remember some of the collaborations that we are also looking at. Earlier in the year, I was part of a summit, Computer Science Education Summit, where they are also looking at trying to change the curriculum that we have in our government schools in relation to how we teach computers, because we have had for the longest introduction to computers. And you'll agree with me that today you can't be teaching a high school student how to write a Word document and format it, the fonts and everything as part of the curriculum. No, we are far behind. We need to be talking robotics, we need to be talking coding, we need to be talking AI at high school level, because our kids who are at preschool, they are already learning that. So if we are going to start teaching that at an older 13-year, 14-year, 15-year-old, they will lose interest quickly in class and they will not even participate. So I think our curriculum is currently, the ministry agreed that maybe we can look at it and maybe it can be changed. So I'll be happy to really see that changing and also partner with other countries. We had countries who are rallying behind us, those who are international experienced benchmarks that we got to look at. And I'm hoping that the university will run with it to completion as well through the ministry partnerships too. So I think these are the things that if we continue to open our borders, we should be able to equally benefit from them.
Wow. We have covered so much information. Unfortunately, we are out of time. This has been a wonderful discussion. I'm definitely going to share with my colleagues in my network what I definitely have learned here. And I want to commend each of you for providing this information, for being so enthusiastic and knowledgeable. And we thank you for your time today, and we appreciate it. I'm sure our audiences will move forward in their implementation and evolution, and like we mentioned, sometimes revolution of using and applying technology. So thank you very much for your time and your input, and we appreciate your attention to all that you've shared. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You
Thank you.
too.
Y'all do the same.